The bus dumps the squad in the middle of nowhere. Kamishiro tries to initiate a classic anime trope by demanding a mountain scream, but Yukito looks at him with pure judgment. He refuses to be cringe in public, calculating the social damage of yelling at a rock. But the second he thinks the coast is clear, the intrusive thoughts win. He loads up a massive lungful of air, and then he gets busted immediately, caught in 4-core resolution. He goes into damage control mode, trying to recover by challenging the resident pretty boy to a random pose-off. It is a desperate play. Kamishiro is just confused by the sudden aggression, wondering if Yukito has finally lost it. The hike begins, and Suzurikawa is already glitching out about the team lineup. She is analyzing the social metrics way too hard. Yukito tells her to reboot her system and keep moving. Kamishiro tries to hype up the nature aesthetic, acting like he has never seen a tree before. Yukito shuts it down instantly. He is an absolute mood assassin, treating the joy of nature like a waste of calories. You could cut the tension with a dull knife. It is a total party wipe. The vibe has been sent to the lobby. Yukito is spiraling inside his own head. He is convinced his mere presence is a debuff that is ruining their high school memories. He is running a full simulation of his own awkwardness. But the terrain decides to fight back. Suzurikawa misses a step on the uneven ground. Gravity takes over, and she is seconds away from eating dirt. Yukito reacts with frame-perfect timing. He calls a tactical timeout before she hits the floor, stepping in to check the damage and prevent a game over. He doesn't waste a second. He looks her dead in the eye and drops a command that sounds straight out of a questionable late-night anime. Take him off. Kamishiro's brain completely short-circuits. The peanut gallery? They think they're witnessing a crime in real time. She immediately goes to DEFCON 1. She screams about doing it here, while Yukito is just trying to play doctor, but she doubles down, whispering that they should save that for when they're alone. Girl phrasing, reality check. Her ankle is swollen up like a balloon. The mood shifts from rom-com to medical drama. They exchange apologies, but Yukito spots something in the environment. His tactical brain lights up. Then, the insecurity hits. She's terrified her feet smell. Yukito tries to be nice, but he digs the hole deeper. He pinches his nose to protect himself. That is literally the worst reaction possible. He decides to nuke the argument. He grabs her leg and threatens to inhale just to prove a point. Absolute menace behavior. She screams for her life. Inside, Yukito realizes he looks exactly like a degenerate with a foot fetish. He accepts his fate as a future inmate, but amidst the chaos, he actually fixes the ankle. Job done. He runs a diagnostic on the gear because a snapped tendon equals a game over screen. She signals she is green across the board, so he hands her a hydration potion to keep the engine running. Out of nowhere, a claw grips his collar like a horror movie villain. My heart rate just spiked. It is Suzurikawa, and she looks like she just crawled out of a crypt on a Monday morning. She is begging for an assist, but Yukito scans her stats and sees her stamina bar is flashing empty. He tunes out the teacher's background static and offloads the quest to Kamishiro. She is the manager, so this is just mandatory XP grinding for her. She executes a perfect ankle wrap technique, applying the bandage with surgical precision while the patient reboots. Then she pivots to Yukito and unleashes the ultimate weapon, the puppy dog eyes. I am not hallucinating. I can practically see a phantom tail wagging at Mach speed behind her. He decides to stress test her dignity. He holds out a hand for a shake, and without a single brain cell firing, she literally barks and slaps her paw into his palm. He ramps up the absurdity to level 100. He yeets an object into the dense foliage and shouts the command, "Fetch." He calculates a 0% success rate, but she defies physics. She dashes into the tree line like a heat-seeking missile and returns with the loot, demanding head pats as payment. He tries to perform a hard reset on her logic circuits, reminding her she is a human being, but she counters with the logic that good soldiers follow orders. That snaps a fuse in his mind. He points a finger and declares that if she wants to roleplay as a pet, he will step up as the trainer. He initiates the sequence with gentle head pats. This is just standard operating procedure for a good girl. Then he goes completely off script. He grabs her waist and scrubs her midriff like he is petting a golden retriever. She screams as the culture levels hit critical mass. She ends up glitching out on the grass. Once her system reboots, she warns him that pulling that move on any other NPC is a lawsuit speedrun. He hits her with the ultimate counter. Is it harassment if he does it to her? She freezes, realizing she just played herself. She loses it, wiping a tear from her eye. The whole vibe just shifts into pure nostalgia mode. She taps his arm, running a quick diagnostic to see if his durability is back to max levels. He tells her to chill out. The man is fully patched up, but then the firewall goes up. Yukito reads the room instantly. The power dynamic is glitching out, and now they are stuck in a frozen loop of pure awkwardness. So he decides to force a hard reboot. He grabs her hand and physically drags the plot forward before her brain can start buffering again. The squad finally hits the summit. The view is mid, but the hunger is real. Everyone starts scrambling for a spot to sit like it is musical chairs. Yukito, being the ultimate Boy Scout, whips a waterproof tarp straight out of his inventory. She literally calls him a blue robot cat because the man came prepared for anything. Later on, he switches to healer class. He is patching up her blisters and handing out candy to boost morale, but she starts getting suspicious about his elite first aid skills. Then she drops the lore dump. She knows his entire injury history from middle school. Why? Because she has had her eyes on him 24/7. Zero privacy, maximum affection. Kamehiro corners him, demanding the logic behind his assist. Yukito tries to play the just teammates card, keeping his face neutral, but then his eyes lock onto the evidence. That teddy bear strap on her phone isn't just decoration, it is a fossil from their ancient history. She tries to drag him down memory lane, bringing up the festival like it matters. Yukito ignores the bait and goes straight for the jugular. He asks if she is fighting with her boyfriend. She practically chokes on her lollipop, her defense stats maxing out instantly. Then she drops a hypothetical scenario asking how to fix a relationship she absolutely nuked. Yukito gives her the cold, hard data. If you cannot patch the code, you have to reboot the system. He tells her to wipe the save file and start from zero. And oh boy, she takes that literally. She executes the strategy instantly. In front of the entire class, she drops a perfect 90-degree bow. She apologizes for being a toxic nightmare, admitting she was terrified she had lost her permanent player 2 spot by his side. Yukito is completely baffled. He starts gaslighting himself, thinking he is the one who glitched out by exposing her boyfriend. He tries to take the bullet and apologizes for ruining the vibe, but that just pours gasoline on the fire. She screams at him to stop being such a saint. She knows she was the villain in this arc, but Yukito shuts it down with a cold reality check. They did not crash because of a fight, they just drive in completely different lanes now. She confesses through the waterworks. His kindness is actually torture for her. She avoided him because she could not stand seeing the pained look he makes whenever he is in her render distance. Yukito makes the executive decision. To keep her happy, he has to delete himself from her narrative entirely. He accepts the demotion from childhood friend to background NPC, just another face in the crowd. The class piles onto the bus ready to bounce, but Suzurikawa hits the pause button. She freezes like her controller disconnected. Inventory check failed. She pats her pockets and claws through her bag in pure panic mode. Then the realization hits her. She dropped the loot back at the summit. She tries to bail, screaming she needs to go back, but Yukito shuts that down instantly. The bus is leaving and he is not waiting for a side quest. Then he drops a line so toxic it needs a hazard warning. He tells her to just ask her boyfriend to buy another one. That hits a critical nerve. She snaps back with tears welling up in her eyes. Emotional damage is super effective. Yukito pauses. He realizes she is crying over the cheap gift he gave her. The guilt hits him like a semi-truck on the highway. On the ride back, reality sets in. She stares at the broken strap, thinking the universe is punishing her just for trying to talk to him. That teddy bear was not just random loot, it was their save file. It was the only physical proof that they actually had a history together. She knows he would replace it, but that is not the point. The original item is gone and you cannot replace sentimental value with store credit. She wants to turn back, but her legs are useless jelly. She is trapped in the passenger seat as the bus rolls back into school territory. The next day, the vibe is completely off. Kenoshiro scans the room like a radar, but Yukito is missing in action. Apparently, he went home sick. Suzurikawa realizes she is the last person to know and her anxiety spikes through the roof. But Yukito is not in bed. A sneaker hits the mountain pavement hard. He strikes the main character pose. Bro actually came back to the scene of the crime. He could not handle the guilt. That sad face was living rent-free in his head, and he had to fix it to clear his conscience. He starts the solo quest. He is finding that bear, or he is passing out trying. There is no middle ground. Meanwhile, let us check the scoreboard. Followed advice? Failed. Lost the item? Check. Crying about noodle legs? Double check. She is down horrendous right now. We kick things off with the universal sign of depression. It is 3 a.m. and Hinagi is doom-scrolling through ancient photos of happier times like a total masochist. She is lying there, staring at the ceiling, convincing herself the relationship is completely cooked. Stick a fork in it because there is no coming back from this one. It all tracks back to the summer festival, back when innocent family trips turned into high-stakes solo dates. He finally made the move, reaching out to hold her hand, but Hinagi panicked, her brain short-circuited, and she yanked her arm back like he was radioactive. She was not rejecting him. She just had sweaty palms and tried to wipe them off in secret before making contact. It was a classic overthinking fumble, but he did not see the handkerchief. He just felt the rejection. Bro took the hint and never tried to touch her again. Absolutely brutal. Now she is torturing herself with the what if game. In her head, they are holding hands, locking lips, and living the dream life. But reality hits different. She knows she burned that bridge herself, and she cannot even ask for a redo without looking crazy. The rain is coming down hard, turning the slope into a grim slip and slide. He is scouring the mud, convinced this is a massive waste of time. But then, he sees it. The missing plushie actually survived. Picking it up feels weird. He already deleted every memory of her to save his own sanity, but she is treating this dirty toy like a holy relic? That level of attachment is seriously messing with his head. He decides to bail before the awkwardness kills him, but the mountain has other plans. He steps on the wet grass, his grip fails completely, and he goes down. As he falls, his life flashes before his eyes. He tries to say goodbye to someone. His mom? The neighbor. Wait. He realizes mid-air that his contact list is empty. Bro really has 0 friends. Too late to make friends now. He screams his lungs out as he rides the mudslide all the way to the bottom. His brain rewinds to the last time he felt like a main character instead of an NPC. A summer festival with Hinagi, where the biggest tactical decision was choosing between plum or apple candy. She shut down the apple idea instantly. Apparently, opening her mouth that wide in front of him was a social game over she wasn't ready to risk. She dragged him to the shooting gallery and pointed at the target. Naturally, she picked the most cursed-looking bear on the shelf, but he didn't care. He locked in, analyzed the wind speed of the air conditioning, and lined up the sights just to keep that smile on her face. But the nostalgia filter starts glitching out. He remembers the cracks forming back in middle school, watching her grow colder than the slushies they were drinking. He ignored every single red flag, deluding himself into thinking that next summer would patch the bugs in their relationship. Under the fireworks, she finally tried to speak. She stammered something about next year, struggling to get the words out while the crowd swarmed around them like a zombie horde. The human wave hit them. Yukito didn't think, he just reacted. He saw the separation coming and lunged forward, grabbing her hand tight to keep them anchored in the chaos. Big mistake. The moment his skin touched hers, the oxygen left the server. She didn't squeeze back. She gasped in pure horror, looking like she had just touched a cursed object. She snatched her hand away and physically recoiled. She clutched her wrist like it was burning, putting up a firewall between them that no amount of festival music could hack through. He stands frozen under the exploding sky, finally accepting the truth. That reaction wasn't a glitch. It was a rejection letter stamped right on his palm. She was done. He snapped his eyes open and stared blankly at the ceiling, desperately praying that the absolute disaster at the festival was just a bad dream or a glitch in the server. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. And because he decided to stand in the rain like he was filming a dramatic music video, his immune system decided to humble him with a 39.5-degree fever. He literally face-planted right at the door, nearly sending Yori into cardiac arrest. He had been out cold for over 12 hours, waking up feeling groggy, like he just lagged out of a ranked match. But his brain refused to shut down. A memory fragment flashed, showing a girl in a floral kimono holding onto a tiny pouch like her life depended on it. It felt heavy, like a legendary quest item he accidentally sold to a merchant. The details were fuzzy, but his gut was screaming at him. Someone swiped something precious, and he needed to retrieve that loot immediately. Back at school, the NPC energy is absolutely chaotic. Yuri drags a classmate out of the room by the collar, and the peanut gallery instantly starts screaming about a romance arc. But the high IQ individuals know better. Yuri only operates on the Yukito OS. They figure our boy went home sick, but the vibes in the room are definitely rancid. In the hallway, Suzurikawa launches a full-blown interrogation. She corners the girl and demands to know why Yukito came home looking like a drowned rat. The girl freezes, eyes locking onto the keychain. The math starts mathing in her head. He left early but got home late. The timeline is completely broken. She chases Suzurikawa down the stairs, desperate for intel. Suzurikawa brushes her off like dirt on her shoulder, claiming it is just a cold. But when she tries to push for more, Suzurikawa activates demon mode. She drops the polite act and hits her with a death stare that could freeze hell over. Do not test my patience. That shuts her up real quick. Suzurikawa doubles down, accusing her of playing mind games with Yukito again. She gets right in her face and demands answers. The girl crumbles under the pressure like a wet cookie. She screams an apology, admitting she leaked info she should have kept secret. Suzurikawa calls her out for tricking him. The girl realizes there is a massive misunderstanding brewing, but she is too busy hyperventilating to fix it. Suzurikawa checks out of the conversation. She has places to be and absolutely zero time for this high school drama. She throws one last glare over her shoulder. Do not come. She walks away, leaving the girl holding a massive bag of regret. Back at base, Yukito pulls off a perfect respawn. He is fully recharged, but his stomach is absolutely empty. He preps to raid the fridge, but freezes. He hears aggressive shouting right outside his door. Someone is beefing. Yuri breaches the perimeter without knocking. Privacy is just a myth in this house. She plays innocent about the noise, claiming it was a newspaper salesman. She is objectively the worst liar on the planet. When he calls her out, she hits him with the, "Huh?" of doom. He surrenders immediately. You do not challenge the boss. She hands him a peace offering, but it is a trap. Every single item is peach flavored. The girl has an obsession. She tries to baby him with a sponge bath, but he dodges the culture bait. Then she threatens to cook porridge. He laughs in her face. He knows her food is a biohazard, so he decides to cook for himself. He is not trying to get sent to the lobby by breakfast. He makes the mistake of checking his phone. Suzurikawa has nuked his notifications with a wall of text. Overwhelmed by the drama, he initiates a tactical retreat to the convenience store. He escapes before his sister can make things weirder. Escape is a myth. Suzurikawa intercepts him on the street with a tackle hug that would make a linebacker proud. She completely ignores the fact that he is dripping with sweat and locks him in a vice grip. She is shaking like a leaf, terrified that he got sent to the lobby. Turns out she tried to visit earlier, but Yuri went full guard dog mode and chased her off the property. Yukito has to apologize for his sister's barbarian behavior. He decides to smooth things over and hands her the ugly bear plush she lost earlier. He claims he just found it while being bored, but she knows better. He definitely went on a side quest to hunt that thing down. She clutches that cheap toy like it is a national treasure. She calls it a bond between them, and suddenly, the mood is getting dangerously fluffy. They start the walk home, reminiscing about the good old days when staying out late meant getting scolded by the parental units. But then she hits the brakes. She admits she does not want to go home yet. Yukito, being the dense protagonist he is, instantly assumes it is because her feet smell. He tries to be comforting about her hygiene, and she absolutely loses it. Way to kill the romance, my guy. He laughs and says that angry reaction is the Suzurikawa he remembers. But she goes quiet. The vibe shifts instantly from comedy to drama. She turns serious and asks if she has changed. She admits she has lived with regret ever since that specific day in the past. She asks if he is only helping her out of obligation. Yukito keeps it strictly professional. He says he helps anyone who is in trouble. No special treatment. That is not enough for her. She grabs his arm, desperate for validation. She begs him to stay by her side forever. Then, she drops the bomb. She broke up with her boyfriend. It lasted exactly 2 weeks. A literal romance speedrun. She apologizes for keeping it a secret and begs him to hit the reset button on their friendship. Yukito shuts that down immediately. He says he cannot do that. She panics and asks if it is because he likes someone else. He denies it. The truth is much colder. He admits he literally cannot remember the feeling of loving her anymore. His emotional hard drive has been wiped clean. Suzurikawa snaps. She yells that she liked him too, ever since they were kids. She wanted to say yes to his confession back then, but she choked under pressure. She is hyperventilating like she just ran a marathon. Yukito has to step in and grab her shoulders to steady her before she passes out on the pavement, but his eyes are ice cold. He looks at her tears and calls her a massive liar. He is not buying a single word of this drama. He goes on the offensive and asks the obvious question. If she liked him, why did she date that other guy? Make it make sense. She has no answer. She just clutches a small bear button to her chest and screams that she is telling the truth. But let's be real, the evidence is looking pretty shaky. She finally admits why she is freaking out. The math isn't mathing in her head until now. Yukito wasn't just some NPC in the background. The guy was radiating pure main character energy. Popular, capable, and nicer than a golden retriever. He had his own gravitational pull, so she tried to pull a pro gamer move to lock him down. She faked a dating rumor to gatekeep him, thinking she was slick, but that backfired harder than a glitched update. Instead of scaring them off, the fan club just doubled in size. Congratulations, you played yourself. Now she is shackled by a lie that has grown bigger than the plot itself. Rewind the tape. She remembers the pinky promise. She swore she would be his support main, and he promised to be the carry whenever she was in trouble. She thought that contract expired ages ago, but looking at the loot in her hands, he is still honoring the terms of service. The target is walking away. She screams at her legs to move, but her ping is over 9,000. She is lagging in real life. The guilt weighs a ton. She knows the bug fix is just one conversation away, but fear is spamming the pause button. She spirals into a full mental crash. She calls herself a monster. Jealousy didn't just blind her, it corrupted her save file from the inside out. She runs the numbers. If she drops the mask now, he will definitely hate her guts. That fear kept her mouth zipped tighter than a sealed envelope. But staying silent is just a slow game over. She clutches the bear like a lifeline and commits. She has to stop the hate train before it leaves the station. Actually, scratch that. No more damage control. She tosses the apologies out the window. Even if he despises her existence, she is taking the leap. She is owning her villain arc. Suzurikawa is locking in. She is about to find out if this is a visual novel bad ending or the true route.